Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Genealogy Gems podcast. I'm Lisa Louise Cook, and I am so glad that you're joining me here today. We've got lots to talk about. We're going to go surfing USA, but not just USA, surfing internet for genealogy resources and websites I think that you're really going to enjoy. But first, I wanted to get back to our mailbox because so many of you have been reaching out. So our first email today is from Sandy. And Sandy writes, Lisa, just an incredible podcast. Okay, so she's talking about the recent episode that I did about researching your dad and how sometimes we just overlook our mom or our dad as part of our research strategy, but really there's so much there to glean. So she said she really enjoyed the podcast. She said, my dad would have been 115 yesterday if he had still been alive. He instead died in 1953 at the age of only 41. Ugh. And I only have memories, some just from photos, all great, of the 6 years that I had with him. I'm now the matriarch of my family, and there is no one alive in our family who knew him. How fast that happens. So she says, having said that, my mother took and processed many black and white photos that I've had as treasures. I also digitized many of them. My mother also handwrote a memoir of her life and has the largest chapter being love and marriage. So I do have her beautiful memories of my dad. The suggestions that you gave today have me thinking of ways that I can find out more about his early life as the youngest son of Swedish immigrant parents in Chicago. I don't even know if he spoke Swedish at home growing up, or if he would ever say Swedish words to me. Almost all of his father's and mother's family stayed in Skaraborg, Sweden, and I have been to visit many times since I found my family in 2016. But no one knew my father. The man with the suspenders was his second cousin. So she sent me a photograph of the whole group. It was awesome. She says, I have several photos of him as a young man that I cherish, including one of his at his older brother's wedding that I got from another cousin, once removed, whom I also searched out. I treasure these new relatives and glimpses through their photo albums. That's a great strategy, tracking down other living relatives, even if they're a cousin once removed, because so often our family, our ancestors were sending photographs and letters and all kinds of correspondence to people who now they're distant from us. But my gosh, that's your family. So that's a wonderful strategy that she's been using. Now, I wanted to mention to you, Sandy, because you said that he grew up in Chicago, and there are some great resources. But here's just a nice basic analog resource. It's not online, it's not digital. Well, it might be an audiobook, I don't know. But it is a book called Finding Your Chicago Ancestors. It's by Grace DeMel. And I talked about that many years ago. I covered that book on the podcast. It's just a wonderful jam-packed resource for anybody who had family coming through the Chicago area and living there. And here are some other great resources I've got for you. So for comprehensive Chicago genealogy, about the absolute best starting point, of course, is Family Search. It offers the largest collection of digitized Cook County records from Cook County, Illinois, including the Cook County birth certificates from 1871 to 1953, and they have a massive U.S. Census database. For localized kind of city-specific research for Chicago, here's some other great resources. So as far as geography and kind of mapping the neighborhood, you could use the Newberry Library Chicago Ancestors Project to discover your family's history by street address, ward, and neighborhood. I will have links for all of this in the show notes for you today. There are archival collections. The Chicago History Museum, it's called Archie, Archie, the Archie Catalog, to find early Chicago portraits, manuscript collections, and historical directories. As far as local vital statistics, the Cook County Genealogy online portal to request non-certified historical birth, marriage, and death records for Chicago and the suburban Cook County area. And of course, you got to check out newspapers and periodicals. There's some great indexes online. the Chicago Public Library genealogy resources. Again, a link in the show notes and in our video description for free in-library access to the Chicago Tribune Historical Archive, the Chicago Defender, and Heritage Quest Online. At least I think they still have that. So, all that to say, even if you don't have Chicago ancestors like Sandy, it's amazing how many really area-specific types of collections, projects, newspaper, digitization projects that are out there. So, of course, you want to use Google or maybe your favorite AI chatbot to dig into what some of these really specialized resources are for you and dig in locally. That's where you're going to learn so much. So thank you for writing, Sandy. And I'm so glad that the episode about dads helped you out. Devin wrote in. She's a new premium member. Hi, Devin. I am so glad you are part of the Genealogy Gems family. She says, I just wanted to let you know how helpful the show notes are. You guys hear me talk about the show notes all the time. She says, for a person who needs to hear and read several things before it sinks in. Your podcasts are so helpful and easy to understand. This is an adventure, and I'm so glad I discovered Genealogy Gems. Well, I'm so glad you did too, Devin. And I'm with you. There is something different that happens in the brain when we can listen to something, we can watch something happen, or we can even touch the paper and turn the pages or write it down right at the margin. So that's, for me, why I take the extra time to put the show notes together. And for those of you who are new, what show notes are is every time you listen to a podcast like this, whether it's an audio podcast or a video on YouTube or on my website, and maybe it's a specialized class or one of the courses that I do on my website, you've always got show notes. And that outlines everything that I've talked about, in particular, including links. So you can get direct access to any of the resources that we're talking about. And sometimes, we're doing kind of step-by-step instructional tutorials, and that as well is going to be lined out for you step by step. When you're a premium member, you get one of those for pretty much all content. If I've produced show notes, you're going to get the PDF version that is downloadable so that you can print it out. I've had people tell me they print them out and put them in 3-ring binders, and they can reference them and write on them and work with them and follow those step-by-step instructions. And of course, digitally, it means they're really easy to search. So when we've covered a lot of content, you're able to keyword search that document and find what you need immediately. And finally, I have another email here from Linda, who is also a premium member. If you're not a member yet, would love to have you join us. You can, of course, find out more about that on our website. Lots of perks that go along with that, including show notes. But she says, I wanted to share my breakthrough with you. I know you'll appreciate it. I'm sure I will. Using many of the tools that you have shared over the years, I have been building my sleuthing skills. Your research plan course was instrumental. And she's talking about the how to create a genealogy research plan. It's a course designed to, in about 10 minutes a day for about a week, get you from start to finish putting together a really high-end intensive research plan that will get you through brick walls. So she said she used that. Also, Copilot, which I believe is Microsoft's AI chatbot, was also a big help. She said, my brick wall was William Umphris Hayden and Elizabeth Irwin and their origins. I am still stuck on William, but I had the breakthrough on Elizabeth. It occurred in FamilySearch.org with a full text search of William's name in Hancock County, Illinois. Of course, we've talked about full text search. If you're not familiar with that, I have a video for you on that, which goes in depth, and it's such a powerful tool. She says, I found several land records, them purchasing 55 acres and then selling 20 acres over a 5-year period. The breakthrough came in 1860 when they sold 400 acres to a group of people, the majority of which were Irwins. And remember, she said Elizabeth was an Irwin. I documented all of their names and did a find a grave search, and there was a whole Irwin cemetery. I could not believe my luck. Find a Grave links siblings and parents if known. I had hit the jackpot. However, I could still not place Elizabeth in this family by name. She had married in 1843, so the census data was not too helpful. However, I now had names of parents of the other Irwin children and the birth dates. thanks to Find a Grave. So later census, 1850, right? After 1843, that's the next census that occurs every 10 years. That one showed parents with some of the same named children from the land record. My next step was on Ancestry. I'm using the beta version to put in the father's name, William Irwin, with his birth and death date. The search came up with a probate record that had William Hayden's name listed as an heir. That's Elizabeth's husband, along with the siblings that I had found. So far, this is my best success story I had to share because your podcasts were instrumental in my skill set. Thank you for all you do. And that was from Linda. Thank you so much for writing in, Linda, sharing your breakthrough. I'm delighted that it helped. And I wanted to share this with all of you guys because Linda is really proving our point that we talk about here all the time, which is, one genealogy website isn't going to cut it. It's not going to have everything you need. And you really have to be able to use those skills to pull together different resources from different places and take hold of that new technology that comes along, like the full text search over at Family Search. And if you're new to that, what we're really talking about here is in the past, you could only keyword search for things that had been indexed, which means somebody or a machine, somebody took the time to pull out the names and pull out the dates and make those things searchable. But of course, in a land document or a probate record or anything else like that, there are a lot more people than just the main person that it pertains to who could be named in that document. The children, the siblings, the heirs. And this kind of context is what busts the brick walls. So because they weren't being indexed necessarily in the past, now you've got full text search. With the help of AI and OCR, you've got the ability to really, at lightning speed, scan that entire document and pull out those names and those dates and that information that was never, ever showing up in indexes. So, this is really making such a huge difference. Those documents that you think you've already looked at or those collections that you've already searched through and you just didn't get anywhere, now's the time to head back to Family Search and try the full text search because it's going to open all kinds of doors to records that were never found in the past. So I love that reminder. I love the way that you're using multiple strategies, Linda, to really pull together your project and get the answers that you wanted. Congratulations on your success. Are you ready to take your family history research beyond names and dates? If so, newspapers.com is a game changer for genealogists of all levels. With access to over 1 billion records of historical newspapers, you can uncover rich, untold stories about your ancestors that you won't find anywhere else. Imagine discovering a detailed obituary that reveals the extended family, or a local news story that highlights your great-grandmother's role in the community. Maybe you'll come across a photo capturing a moment of your ancestor's life, something that brings their story vividly to life. Newspapers captured the everyday details, announcements, happenings, achievements, and challenges that paint a fuller picture of who your ancestors were and what their world was like. Newspapers can reveal the social history behind the names on your family tree and help you connect with your past in a personal, meaningful way. Searching is simple and intuitive, letting you explore by name, location, or date to unearth those hidden gems. So are you ready to enrich your research with stories you won't find in traditional records? Visit newspapers.com/genealogygems today and get 20% off a subscription. Start turning your family tree into a family story. Newspapers.com/genealogygems. It's August and summer is slipping away fast. So before we pack up the beach towels and call it a season, I thought we would just squeeze in one more summer adventure. Let's go surfing. Okay, not the kind with waves and wetsuits. We are going to surf the web, genealogy style. So today I am taking you on a fast-moving tour of some of my favorite genealogy websites, along with a few lesser-known gems that may be completely new to you. And at each stop, I'll give you a quick reason to visit the website and one tip to help you get more out of it. So grab your virtual surfboard and let's hit the genealogy web. Okay, so when you're talking about surfing the web, Google still rules the waves. It's really the vehicle that's going to get you to genealogy content and information outside of the big genealogy websites you're probably very used to using. So here's my newest pro tip when it comes to using Google. Google has changed its integrated AI, and so sometimes it's a little confusing which way you should navigate when you get there. So think of it this way. There's Google traditional search. That's what you use to find stuff, to find records, to find websites, to find specific information. But you're also seeing AI mode in that search, and AI mode is a different option. So you're going to use that to understand something. Okay, so you might search for a particular record or a term that you've come across in a record, and you wonder what it is. AI mode is going to tell you. So rather than finding a website that somehow mentions that unique term that you've come across in a record and you didn't know what it meant, you're going to search for it in Google and then use AI mode to understand it. So when we want to understand something on the web or something that we've seen, we're going to use AI mode. And when it comes to work, then you're using Gemini. So Gemini is the AI of Google. It's integrated into Google. When you really want to get work done, you want to work with translations or transcriptions or anything else, maybe analyze some of the research that you've already done, you're going to turn to Gemini. Now, when it comes to Google traditional search at google.com, I want to share with you one of my favorite strategies, and it's to use quotation marks very strategically around keywords and phrases. That is going to target those words, target those phrases, or perhaps names, right? So we're going to put those within the quotation marks. That tells Google, don't just give me any sort of match. You have to give me a match that's exact, and it must be included in each of the results that you give me. So this is really effective when you've got multiple keywords you really need in combination, and you don't want to just get results that have some of the words but not other words, or has the same name but it's not quite spelled the same way. If you want that exact spelling, you're going to put quotation marks around your names when you're Google searching. All right, next up, the big waves. We're talking Family Search at familysearch.org, and you just sign up for a free account. And I really think that the strengths of this website, besides the immense catalog of records, the wiki, which is that knowledge base that they have along with the records, which is just tremendous because you just can't know everything. So it's really nice to be able to turn to the wiki and make sure that you're not missing something as far as a particular location that you're researching or whatever the record collection is. And of course, they have tons of images, and so many collections. But beyond all of that, I think that the strongest thing that they've got going right now is their full text search. And that's my tip for you. Full text search. You've got to take advantage of that now. It is so powerful, and it's opening previously unlocked doors for all kinds of people. So if you want to learn more about that, we have a full-length video about full text search over at Family Search at genealogygems.com. Next up, is among the big players is Ancestry. Of course, I think this is one of the best massive record discovery engines out there. And of course, it's a lot more than just building a family tree on their website. They have learning resources. They have a DNA, all kinds of research tools. But I want to share with you one of my favorite tips over at Ancestry. Open the original image of the record. When you get a search result, you want to open that original image and mine every clue that you can rather than just accepting the hint. I know the hints are really exciting. So many people see a hint, get excited, open it up, and just take it like it's absolutely the truth. Well, we've got to really analyze the image. Open it up, look at it, look at everything, look at the page before, look at the page after. You need the bigger picture. And I would say another favorite strategy of mine over there is just, again, around hints, understanding that the hinting functionality over at Ancestry is really only pulling from a small percentage of their most popular collections and records. So don't think that that's all there is. Once you've explored the hints, you got to get to the search box and card catalog and really dig in and start searching. And amongst the big waves, I'd say, is, of course, myheritage.com. They have really strong international research collections and knowledge base. They have translations available to you. They also, of course, offer DNA, as does Ancestry, and many tools that go along with the DNA. But some of the most interesting features over there really take advantage of their strength in technology. That's something that the company really emphasizes. So when it comes to the tech, check out their photo enhancement tools. Search Connect, which is a fairly new feature, which kind of connects you with other people who are also researching the same people that you are. Those kinds of connections could be really valuable. And of course, they have their AI Scribe, which we've talked about here at Genealogy Gems. Today's episode is sponsored by MyHeritage, a global discovery platform enjoyed by 110 million people worldwide. MyHeritage has it all, and it offers a full-service experience that bridges your past, present, and future. MyHeritage has developed powerful genealogy tools to enrich your family tree and take your research to the next level. Receive automatic matches to family trees of fellow MyHeritage users and to historical records, which provide new details that you can add to your tree. Explore 12 billion historical records to uncover fascinating new insights about your ancestors. Add new information to your family tree in one click. Check your tree for inaccuracies, colorize your black and white photos, and connect with relatives around the globe. MyHeritage makes it all possible, and it puts the discoveries at your fingertips. Growing your family tree is easier than ever before with MyHeritage. The discoveries are out there and waiting to be made. Visit myheritage.com and try it today. That's myheritage.com. So far, we've been riding some of the big waves of genealogy research, the websites that many of us use all of the time. But now I want to paddle out a little farther. These next websites that I want to talk about may not be part of your regular research routine. And in fact, there's a good chance that at least one or two of them are completely new to you. And that's really what I love about searching the web for genealogy. No matter how long you've been researching, there is always another little cove to discover. So start with a site called Genealogy Indexer, genealogyindexer.org. Of course, I'll have a link to that and all of these websites for you in our show notes. Genealogy Indexer is a free search engine covering more than 2 million pages of historical material, including old directories, Yizkor books, military records, school records, and other sources. It's particularly strong for Central and Eastern European research. Now, one of the things I like about a website like this is that we're getting beyond the usual birth, marriage, and death records. So consider city and business directories, for example. An ancestor might turn up with an occupation. You might find a street address. You might discover someone else with the same surname living just around the corner. Suddenly, you've got another person to investigate. And Genealogy Indexer also searches what are called Yizkor books. These are memorial books created for Jewish communities, and many were written partly or entirely in Yiddish or Hebrew. So this can be an especially important resource if you have Jewish ancestry from Eastern Europe. So here's my tip for this website. Don't get hung up on exact spelling, okay? If your ancestors came from Eastern Europe, you already know that names and place names can appear in all kinds of forms. So try variations. Try just part of the surname or just try the town. And when you can't find the person, start looking for the place and the people around the person. This is exactly the kind of website where a little experimentation can pay off. Genealogy Indexer is free, it's specialized, and it can lead you into material that you might never have thought to look for. All right, let's catch the next wave, and that is the Immigrant Ships Transcriber Guild. This one has actually been around for a very long time, and longtime genealogists might remember it. The Immigrant Ships Transcribers Guild, also known as the ISTG, I'll warn you right now, when you arrive at that website, you might feel like you've traveled back in time on the internet. But don't let that stop you. The user interface looks a little old-fashioned, but underneath that old-school website design is a tremendous volunteer project. The Immigrant Ships Transcriber Guild has put more than 30,000 passenger manifests online, plus a variety of special projects. The site also points researchers to information about ships, immigration, naturalization, ports, archives, and other migration sources. And here's why I think this site is actually worth remembering. Sometimes we get into the habit of thinking that passenger lists mean one website or one port. We think Ellis Island, we think Ancestry. We think, oh, I'll type grandpa's name into the search box and see what happens. But migration was much messier than that. Okay, people sailed from different ports. They arrived at different ports. They traveled through Canada. They went to Australia or South America. Sometimes you know the ship, but you're not quite sure about the exact arrival date. Sometimes you know the port, but the surname has been badly transcribed. ISTG lets you come at the problem from several different directions. Its indexes can be searched by things such as surname, ship, port of arrival, port of departure, and date. And there are some fascinating special projects buried here as well, including German departures, Australian convict ships, World War II refugees to Australia, Irish immigrants to Argentina, and other specialized collections. Next up, let's head over to Europe. If you are researching European ancestors, particularly Catholic ancestors, I want you to know about Matricula Online. Matricula provides online access to church registers, primarily books of births or baptisms, marriages, and deaths. Now, as of August of 2026, right now, while we're filming this, the website includes collections from Austria, Germany, Italy, Luxembourg, Poland, Serbia, and Slovenia, and the collection continues to grow. And these church records can be genealogy gold. A baptism may have parents and godparents' names. A marriage record might give residences, occupations, ages, parents, and witnesses. Those witnesses and godparents can become incredibly important members of your ancestors' fan club, right? The friends, associates, and neighbors. And there's something else I like about Matricula. It reminds us that genealogy research isn't always, again, about typing in a name into a search box and waiting for an answer. In many cases, you're actually going to browse the parish register. And I know that initially could feel kind of slow. But once you know the town, the parish, and approximately when the event took place, suddenly you're turning digital pages in the very book where the priest recorded the lives of the people in that community. So my tip over at Matricula is to figure out the parish before you start looking for the person. So use what you already know about the ancestor's location and religion. Identify the likely parish, find the appropriate register and time period, and then begin browsing. And don't just grab your ancestor's record and leave. Okay, look at the surrounding entries. Do certain surnames keep appearing? Who were the witnesses? Who were the godparents? Are several families coming from the same small village? That's where that slower style of research can really pay dividends. Now, here's a website that is different from everything else we're visiting today. It's called Reclaim the Records. And rather than simply collecting genealogy records, these folks have been actively working to get public records released to the public. Reclaim the Records is a nonprofit group of genealogists, historians, researchers, and open government advocates. They identify genealogically valuable public records that are being restricted by government agencies. They file freedom of information and open data requests, and when necessary, they go to court. As of 2026, they report that they have helped reclaim more than 60 million records. And once they obtain records, they make them freely available, including uploading material to the Internet Archive and other open data sites. I love this because it illustrates something I think genealogists sometimes forget. The universe of records available online is not fixed. Just because you searched for your great-grandmother's death certificate 5 years ago and it wasn't online doesn't mean it's not online today. Collections change. Archives digitize things. Laws change. Restrictions change. And organizations like Reclaim the Records can cause huge collections to become available that researchers simply couldn't access before. A recent example of this is in Maryland. Reclaim the Records obtained more than 5 million records from the Maryland State Archives, including indexes and full vital record certificates spanning more than a century. So here's my tip. If you've hit a records access brick wall, check again. Go to the Reclaim the Records and see what's been released. Take a look at what they're currently pursuing and periodically just revisit those old genealogy problems where the answer used to be, that record isn't available online, because sometimes the answer has changed. And speaking of records that we thought had been lost, let's head to Ireland. The Virtual Record Treasury of Ireland is one of my favorite examples of how technology can help us recover pieces of the past. So here's the backstory. In 1922, during the Irish Civil War, the Public Records Office of Ireland was destroyed. The loss was devastating. Centuries of Irish archival records were destroyed. And here's the fascinating part. Not everything contained in those records disappeared completely. Over the centuries, copies had been made and transcripts had been created. Documents had been copied into other collections. Related records had traveled to archives and libraries in Ireland, Britain, the United States, and elsewhere. The Virtual Record Treasury of Ireland has been digitally bringing that scattered material back together. And this project is growing quickly. In June of 2026, the Virtual Treasury announced another 190,000 new records, bringing the collection to 544,000 records and 340 million searchable words of Irish history. You can find it at virtualtreasury.ie. Think about that. Records from a destroyed archive are, in a sense, being virtually reconstructed by finding surviving copies and related material scattered among institutions around the world. So for genealogists, the site allows you to search by keyword, people, places, and other categories. And they provide genealogy help pages and short instructional videos showing you how to search and how to browse the collections. So here's my tip for the Virtual Record Treasury. When someone tells you, those records were destroyed, don't necessarily consider the case closed. Okay? You've got to ask, were copies made? Were transcripts created? Were portions published somewhere else? Did another government office receive a copy? Did somebody quote the document in another record, maybe a newspaper? The original might be gone, but its information may have survived somewhere else. And that is a wonderful mindset to bring to any genealogy brick wall. This episode is also brought to you by Archives.com, the trusted destination for anyone ready to explore the stories that shaped America. As our nation marks 250 years of history, there's never been a more meaningful time to discover where your family fits into that remarkable story. Archives.com gives you access to millions of historical records, birth and marriage certificates, census data, military records, Revolutionary War documents, and so much more. So you can uncover the rich, vibrant details that connect your family to the American journey. This easy-to-use platform welcomes both beginners and seasoned researchers, guiding you smoothly through vast collections that span the full sweep of American history. And behind that simple search interface, powerful technology works tirelessly to deliver accurate, meaningful results, helping you connect the dots and reveal the stories that have been waiting to be told for generations. Whether you're eager to find a patriot ancestor who helped forge this nation, confirm a cherished family tale, or simply trace your roots back through the centuries of American life, Archives.com offers an affordable and enjoyable way to add depth and color to your family's narrative. This America 250, don't let your history remain a mystery. Visit Archives.com today and start breathing new life into your family's past. Your story is just a few clicks away. That's Archives.com. So we've been surfing some pretty deep record collections, and for our next few stops, I want to shift gears because some of the most useful genealogy websites aren't places where we find ancestors at all. They are tools that help us understand what we've found and become a better researcher. First up, let's begin with maps. Now, you know I love a good historical map because geography is such an important part of genealogy. We need to know where unique people were in their location and during which time frame. Well, when it comes to location, one website worth exploring is Arcanum Maps. Arcanum has a particularly rich collection of historical European maps, including detailed surveys of the former Habsburg Empire and surrounding regions. But here's what makes the site especially fun. With many of the maps, you can use a synchronized view to compare historical maps with other maps. And there's also a 3D viewing tool that can help you visualize the terrain. So instead of just seeing a dot on a map that says, oh, my ancestor lived here, we can begin asking much better questions. What road went through town? Where was the church? Where was the nearest larger community? Was there a river between this village and the next village? Was the family living along a national border that changed repeatedly? Maps can help. And here's my tip. Look at the map that your ancestor would have known, not just the map you know today. Okay? If your ancestors lived there in 1870, find a map as close to 1870 as you can and look at their world through that map. Then compare it with today. Sometimes you'll suddenly understand why the family attended a church in what looks like the wrong town, or why they married somebody from another village, or why they migrated in a particular direction. Geography can explain a lot of human behavior, and that can make a map every bit as valuable as a database. Okay, next we are going to talk about source citations. Now, don't turn off this podcast because I've got a website that makes this job a little easier. It's called Site Builder. It's at site-builder.com. Site Builder was designed specifically for genealogists. Rather than starting with a blank page and wondering where the commas, quotation marks, and italics are supposed to go, you select the type of source that you're working with and enter the information that you know. And the service currently offers more than 900 source templates with multiple citation styles available, including evidence explained. There's a free basic version and a paid premium version with additional templates and features. Then Site Builder helps assemble the citation. And I think a tool like this can be particularly helpful for genealogists who understand that they should cite their sources. But sometimes we avoid doing it because it feels complicated or we're not sure we're doing it right. So here's the important part. A citation generator doesn't replace understanding your source. You still need to know what you're looking at. What is the record? Who created it? When was it created? Where did you access it? Is what you're looking at an original image, an index, a transcription, or a database entry? Those questions matter. So here's my tip. Create the citation when you find the record, not later. Not after you've downloaded 43 images and can't remember where any of them came from. Do you feel me? Do it while you're looking at the record and all the source information is still sitting right there in front of you. The future will be very grateful that you did. All right, our last stop in this section is a website I've mentioned over the years, but it deserves a place in your permanent genealogy toolbox. It's WorldCat at worldcat.org. WorldCat is essentially a giant global catalog of library materials. It doesn't just search books. It includes articles, maps, dissertations, sound recordings, and other materials held by libraries around the world. WorldCat describes itself as the world's largest library catalog. And here's why I think genealogists sometimes underuse it. We have gotten so accustomed to asking, can I get this online, that we forget to ask, does this thing exist? Okay, those are two very different questions. Maybe someone wrote a history of the little church that your family attended. Maybe there's a privately published county history from 1937. Maybe somebody compiled a cemetery transcription before half the stones deteriorated. Maybe a library has a family Bible collection or a manuscript, a regimental history, or a local newspaper on microfilm. WorldCat can help you discover that material and find libraries that hold it. In fact, WorldCat specifically calls out genealogy as a use for the catalog, pointing researchers toward library holdings such as cemetery and burial records, military materials, family Bibles, church and town histories, vital record indexes, photographs, newspapers, and microfilm. Yes, even microfilm today. So my WorldCat tip is really this. Use WorldCat first as a discovery tool. So don't worry initially about whether the book is available digitally. Find out whether it exists. Then find out who has it. Maybe it's actually a library very near you. Maybe your local library can help you obtain it through interlibrary loan. Maybe the holding institution provides a lookup or copying service. Or maybe just knowing the exact title and author will give you the information that you need to hunt it down somewhere else, maybe even online. This is a great example of something that I say often about genealogy research. Our ancestors are not all sitting inside genealogy websites waiting for us to type their names into a search box. Sometimes the clue we need is actually analog. It's in a book. It's in a physical location. Sometimes it's on a map. Sometimes it's in a church register. Sometimes it's sitting in an archive that we've never heard of. The real skill is learning how to figure out where the answer is likely to be and then knowing which tool will help us get there. And now that we've paddled out into some of the lesser known corners of the genealogy web, let's pick up the pace. So coming up next, we are going to do a quick surf through several more websites that I think are absolutely worth a bookmark. I'm only giving myself about 20 or 30 seconds on each one of these, so hang on. Okay, we are ready for our quick surf, so let's do it. Here's the first place I'd stop, Google Books, okay? It's at books.google.com. Think of it as not Google Books. Think of it as Google printed materials. That's going to help open up your brain to the possibilities of what they have there. Here you can find old books, directories, almanacs, newspapers, magazines, court records, all types of printed material. And the good news is we're typically looking for stuff in the past. And if it's in the public domain prior to the early 1920s, you are in luck because nearly all of that material is actually going to be fully digitized, fully searchable on Google Books. And with over 25 million items in their catalog, it is worth a look. Your ancestors didn't need to be famous to show up in a book or printed material. So check out books.google.com. Next up is the Wayback Machine. This is the website over at archive.org, the Internet Archive, that helps you recover websites and pages that have disappeared. What could be worse? You saved the link to a website, maybe a particular page within a website, and you go to it years later. Link is broken, the page is gone. The Wayback Machine can help you find it. So head to archive.org and click Wayback Machine on the homepage. Next up is the Library of Congress. This is the people's material, and it is yours to use for free. They have maps, old photographs, huge digitized newspaper collection that has gone through a lot of new improvements lately, and just so much material that can give you historical context. So when you go there, not only look for individual people in your family tree, but look for the places, the events, the businesses, the locations, anything that they were involved in. You might find material. I even had some fun finding old sheet music for the songs that my husband's grandfather played when he played in the orchestra at the turn of the century. Next up is Find a Grave. Wow, this is a gold mine because it's so interconnected. Not only can you find the grave of an ancestor on this website, but if they know anything about who they're related to or other graves in that website, you're going to find links. This is user-contributed information, so you definitely need to do your homework, make sure that you verify things, but what a wonderful, amazing, kind of crowdsourced resource at Find a Grave. All right. We have found ourselves marooned on a desert island. Our surfboard has floated away, and we're left with the challenge of having only one website. Which one would it be? Well, it's kind of like the question, which one is the best genealogy website? And the answer to that question is the one that has the information you're looking for right now. Okay, so that means it could be any website, but I think I'd have to go back to google.com. Google now has AI. It is stronger and more powerful than ever, and it really is your portal to finding all the websites, all the information that is available to you online. And even if the records themselves aren't online, Google's going to help you figure out where you can find them offline. Now, if you were to ask me, which website do you use pretty much every day? Well, in addition to Google and maybe whatever big genealogy website that I'm building my family tree in or have a subscription to, the one that I would really use, and I probably do use almost every day, is one I had in my short list, and it was Google Books. I've got to tell you, I have found more obscure information I have not seen anywhere else, but it was right there in Google Books. And I think that's because of the diversity of the type of material they have, just the sheer volume, and the fact that it's free and fully searchable. I have to tell you, if there's somebody you're looking for or an event you want more information on or whatever it is, and you just haven't found this awesome resource for it, go check at Google Books. You might be very surprised. And of course, all of the search strategies that I teach at Genealogy Gems and in my book, The Genealogist Google Toolbox, all of those search strategies and operators that we use at google.com are applicable to Google Books, including the quotation marks that we talked about earlier. Well, I think one of the lessons from our surfing extravaganza here is that experienced genealogists build a toolbox around different types of research problems, not just loyalty to one website. So what's on your surfing list? What's in your toolbox? In the comments, let me know. What's that one website, if you were stranded on a desert island, that you would just not want to be without? Let's set aside google.com or your favorite AI chatbot or the big genealogy website that you have a subscription to. What's that one gem that just you go back to over and over again because of whatever value it's really bringing to you? I want to hear what that is. And I know that everybody else watching and listening will want to know as well. So the comments is the best place for us to get together and share this information. I'd love to hear from you. Head over to genealogygems.com. You're going to find premium membership that includes the downloadable show note cheat sheets and my online course. I have really enjoyed surfing the waves with you and exploring all of these websites. Thank you so much for listening, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.